Welcome to the webinar. I'm Shelley Terrell, and welcome to American TESOL Presents Free Friday Webinars. Every Friday we are here. It's absolutely free, and you get a certificate of attendance. So you can go to the bit.ly address, and you'll find the links there of where you can download your certificate. We still need to upload the ones for this month, so we will have those in a few days. You can find the resources on the bit.ly link as well, but you can also go to the other link that I posted, and you'll find a lot of the ideas explained, okay? So feel free to bring a friend. It's absolutely free. um, so these ideas are lesson plans that you can actually use in your classroom. These are projects, and then some of them are just conversations. So the way you want to create these lessons is up to you. So, but the thing about these lessons are they're hands-on. They get your students creating, they get them inventing, and they get them to explore their curiosities while they speak and they learn English as well. And they learn the subject as well. So these lesson plans are really good because they're highly motivating. So if you are having problems motivating your students, any of these lesson plans will really help with that. So one of the ideas is advertise this, and this is what I use with my students. I've used this with adult students, high school students, and even young learners. So basically what it is I put on the table in front of them a pen, or I'll put a water bottle, or I'll put all kinds of things, a paper clip, and then I tell them, I break them up into small groups, probably about 2 or 3, and then I tell the students, I say, this is not just any pen. This pen is unlike any pen. It has special skills that make it very wonderful for people. And I say, you have to come up with a special skill. Do they write secret messages? And you can have them brainstorm, give them some time to brainstorm ideas and write down what the pen does or what their water bottle does. And you'll see that your students, they come up with some really great ideas. They're very, very creative. So if you're having trouble hearing, you may want to try using Firefox, because Firefox works better with Adobe, I found. So it may be the browser. And then after that, then you're going to have the students create, the small groups create their own advertisements. So these should be like commercials that they're creating. And if you go to the blog, you'll actually see examples of these commercials where they uploaded them to YouTube. And one of the ones that I saw is actually from a teacher that I met from, I met in when I was in Thailand, and she's from India. Her name is Bijal Damani, and she did this with her students as well. So they can create different types of advertisements and show what they do, but I'll talk more about what they did later. There's different softwares to create movies, so you can easily do this using software that's on your computer that you don't even need to download. It's probably already on there. So if you have a Mac, then you can use things like Windows Movie Maker. You can use something like iMovie or GarageBand to edit sound, or you can even edit pictures with iPhoto. Now, if you go to, if you're using a PC, then you can use something like Windows Movie Maker. So you can have some software. But if you don't have any software and you do have internet access, you may want to try this really great tool called Present.me. Present.me is really great because you can upload slides here, and then on the other side, it has your video. And then it records it all for you. It's very fast. It's very quick. And then you can embed it in lots of places. Now, it all uploads to Present.me. If you go to Present.me, then you'll see me on the front page giving sort of like a webinar like this. So it's very easy to use, and you can even see these two kids used it as well. You can have several pictures uploaded, and it's a great way to present their new idea, their new pen, and what it does, all the things that their pen does, or their water bottle and all the great things that it does. And I've had students say things like, it's a pen that records whatever you say, and then it also spies on people. So they're very creative. Animoto. Animoto is fantastic because it's online as a web tool, but you can also get it on your mobile device. It's absolutely free. You can get it on your iPad, you can get it on your iPod, you can get it on your Android. It has an app for all of, I think even Windows 8 as well. So Animoto is fantastic. It's a great way to create videos. It's free. If you sign up for the educator account, you get 5 free minutes of video. You get pictures with it. You can change styles. You can even add your own short video clips, so you can see the Creative Commons music that comes with it. Photo Peach is a little bit like Animoto. Photo Peach is very good as well. So there are many video editing tools out there that are really fantastic. There's J-Cut, there's One True Media, so you can use any of those. These are just the ones I decided to highlight. Another idea is to have an innovation day. Innovation day is a lot like a science fair. So maybe you have been participating in a science fair project, and then you have several months or to complete your science fair project. You do research and things like that. So one of the things that students can do instead is innovation. So instead of presenting their science ideas, they're presenting things that they are designing. So they're inventing something. I would say have your students pick any type of field they like. They can pick a hobby. They can pick, like, for example, if they like skateboarding, and then they can try and they can create a new kind of skateboard or something like that. They don't have to actually come with the invention. That's very hard. So what they do instead is they show a mock-up or a model of it, something that they designed and put together, and then they explain why it's able to do what it does. So that's one of the things. And then you can have them do a whole entire day where they can either present it to their families, they can open it to the community, and they have to present it, they have to talk about it, they have to say why they did this and the research they did. When I did this, we paired them with mentors from the community. So if you can find mentors, or even mentors via Skype or something, or Twitter, their Twitter accounts and stuff, then this would be really good for you to get mentors for them, so that way they can explore it more. So that's another idea. And it's a great idea for the entire school, because all the school can participate in that. Recycled inventions. So something that I used to do with students, especially young learners, is throw a bunch of recycled goods on a big table. Computer parts. It's really great if you get some technology stuff. So if you get computer parts, you can ask businesses to donate, you can ask parents to donate, you can ask students to donate their old cell phones, all of these kind of things. Just make sure it's safe. And then when they donate it, cartons and all kinds of things, toilet paper rolls, then they're putting it together and they're coming up with an invention, and then they have to explain what their invention does. So here you can see one of the boys. This is all recycled stuff. They can paint it. You can add paint. You can add glue. You can add glue guns, duct tape, things like that. Now, of course, you've got to be careful with the tools. Depending if they're very, very young learners, you probably don't want to give them glue guns. So you do have to think about it, what the age level is. And then what you can do is have the students take a photo of their invention and use apps like VoiceThread, Babel, or Squeak to describe the invention, because you want them to speak and practice those skills. I like VoiceThread for this idea because you can upload pictures of each invention, and then everyone can go around and they can present their idea. VoiceThread has an iPad app as well. So VoiceThread, you can't find it on Android, but you can find it on the iPad, and also it's free as well. And it's very easy to use. Your students, the great thing about VoiceThread, they don't have to use their picture. You can see me in my picture, but if they didn't want to, then they can be like one of these different types of avatars, like the iron and stuff like that. Squeak. Squeak is sort of like Photobabble. So if you love Photobabble, you're going to love Squeak more. Squeak is fantastic. It lets you upload several pictures, and then it lets you draw on top of your pictures. You can also record your voice while you're explaining. But I like Squeak more because I can draw on the picture, and with PhotoBabble you can't do that. The great thing is both of them are free apps, so you can find them on the iPhone and stuff like that. Another thing that you can have your students do is actually create an app. So you might say, wow, that sounds kind of difficult for students. But they're actually very easy tools to use to create apps. So for example here, you can read about these 6th graders in Australia from Heidi Swak. She's on Twitter. And she had her students create a geography app. Here's one where they did the drawing. This is what it looks like. And then it's a geography. It's a tourist app for around their town. So they actually do the speaking. They give pictures that they took. It's a great app. But you don't have to make it that complicated. They mentored with a web designer of apps who show them and walk them through the process of doing that. But there are simple sites so you can design apps that your students. You may want to check them out first. They're free, so they're great to use. And what they do is basically they just make it to where it's very easy to do this. Okay, thanks, Mikako. Mikako says, VoiceThread, you can have private accounts for students without any email address if you pay for it. So thank you for that tip. And then what you can do is, if you go to webmovie.com, this is one of these places where it lets you create a mobile site in minutes. It's fast, it's easy, it gives you pictures, all kinds of good stuff. Now these particular apps, because they're free, you can only have basically on the Android market. That's where they would be able to get the app. And the reason why is you can create apps for the iStore, but they're not going to be able to go on there until you pay the fees for it. So, but you will have a free app for the phone, and it could be quite easy. I actually want to show you an app that some students made, and they did it completely on with drawing. I'm going to go ahead and find this app for you. But they basically, it's called KC Mouth Off. So there's another app called Mouth Off that I love. So this is the one the students made. This is the Mouth Off that they made. And what they did was they did drawings and colors. And this is what Mouth Off does. Mouth Off, the one that's from students. These students designed this. They drew these mouths. So we choose a mouth. I chose a mouth here. And then that's all it does is it moves and makes a funny mouth when you talk. But the great thing is it's free, and the kids made it, and it's a very simple app, so it doesn't have to be very complicated. It can be very simple. It could be even their colorings and drawings, and it could be a story. So there's so many things you can do with the app. Mobile conduit.com. This is another free, easy one, in AppShed. All of those three will help you create apps, and they're free. So another idea is to have them solve a real world problem. So what the students will do is you may want to do something like a T-chart. A T-chart is something like this, or you may have them brainstorm. So when they brainstorm, they can go either on a place like Poplet, or they can use something, or they can do something where they basically they're doing something like a T-chart like this, and they have a problem. They have to jot down a bunch of problems, and then they jot down the solutions to them later. So these are problems that are around the school. So around your school, you can come in the classroom and you can say, okay, get into pairs or small groups and tell us what are problems around the school. For example, maybe people litter too much. Maybe people don't show up. Maybe it's tardies. Maybe people are dropping out of the school. Maybe there's too many fights. So whatever they think of. And then they have to come up with a bunch of solutions. And they can actually implement the solution. So if you try, you can actually implement the solution. Here's one organization, one website. This is actually it was made by a kid, well, a teenager. This is Talia, and she made this when she was 12, this website. And what it does is there's real world problems, and so what the student does is goes and they select a world issue, they choose a solution, and then it gives ideas on how to make it happen. So these are different ideas as well. You can also interview an inventor. So right now you see me, and actually this was I Skyped with students in Romania. So you can use great tools like Skype, Google Plus Hangouts. You can have something like, for example, a webinar platform like this. There are many, many different ways that you can interview an inventor. Sometimes I've had it where they've invited me to the blog and then I just answer questions on the blog, or I create a little video and I talk to them that way. So you can use, I recommend using Skype. I recommend using something like Google Plus Hangouts because it'll record it and stuff. What you want to do is you can find a lot of inventors if you go on Twitter. On that link that I shared earlier, on that website, you'll actually be able to see quite a few places where, if you scroll to the bottom, where you can see a lot of different inventors. The great thing about interviewing an inventor is you have your students ahead of time prepare questions. Something like, why did you invent this? How long did it take? Is this your first invention? And the great thing is when you interview them, have the person, the inventor, show the stuff that they invented. Now, how many of you have seen something like a home shopping network in your country where they have someone that comes on and starts giving you this spiel about the best detergent or vacuum cleaner? So you can look up those people and you can ask them if they will Skype too. A lot of them will. Students now can also create games online. There are sites for that. There are actually sites for everything these days, so that's very exciting. So they can create their own online game, and when they create their own online game, they can have other students play it. So it's really just a great way they can practice grammar. They can do very simple grammar games that they can create online. They can create listening exercises. They can do speaking exercises, vocabulary, all kinds of different ones. The best one, in my opinion, and a lot of people say, is Scratch. And the reason why is because Scratch also allows interactive stories, but it just has many options. Animation, you can see where it's really pretty characters and things like that. So it gives your students so much more options. There's music, there's art, interactive stories, and then they can share it online there as well. But it's a great way to create a game. Another site is Serendipity. Now, Serendipity will let you create some games too, and you can see that it has the kids don't have to know programming or anything. The way it works is it's drag and drop. So you can see my arrow. Usually with drag and drop, you just click on something and then you add it to it. It's a great way to really get your students to start thinking about the process of web tools as well. ClassroomTools.net has different types of arcade games, and this is to practice to practice questions, definitions, all kinds of things, grammar especially. The great thing about ClassTools.net is that he has examples, so you can see other examples of what you want to create, and then the students will have something to go off of. One of the other ones is Imagine a New Creature, and we're going to wrap up pretty soon. But what I do other things along with this. So there are many sites out there that you can actually create your own creature. I'm going to show you this really cool app right now. This one is one of my favorites. So this is from their imagination. It's not real. This is Night Zookeeper. You can find it online, but it's also an app. I'll show you what the app looks like, but it's also online, so you can do this online. What it is there's a zookeeper, and he has all these animals that he has to take care of. So he tells a story, and when he tells the story, he adds different animals in this story. So when your students draw, they have to invent an animal. This student invented the perfect peacock. He tells a little about his name, what group, where it lives, what it likes, what it dislikes, and why it's so special. So already they're doing writing, they're practicing different vocabulary, and these are their colorings that they have actually uploaded online. And then what happens is it becomes part of the story. So it's fantastic. It also has interactive games that are with it as well, and it has free lesson plans for all teachers. So it tells you the learning outcomes, key stages, how to talk with parents, how to explain it. If you go to the teachersnightzuper.com/teachers, then you're going to find different types of lesson plans and resources. So I'm going to show you what it looks like now. Hopefully you can see this on the iPad. So it's really pretty. It has so much art and stuff. It says power up, and then I'm going to go to, you have the difference between night zookeepers and mission. So we're going to put a mission, and you may see on the side, you see all those colors. That's because you can draw on it. So your students will be able to draw their animal on the iPad. So it's really great for young learners and children as well, so they can draw their animals. This is the different missions that it has. It actually has artistic creative drawing missions. So it'll give them a prompt, so it practices with their reading. It's small text reading, so they'll be able to manage it. Here's one of the examples. It says, imagine an underwater spaceman. So it has the story, so they practice listening. They can have the story read to them aloud. And then it stops and it pauses. It says, okay, now you have to imagine an underwater spaceman. And then you have to hold the drawing torch, and then you have to brighten the dark tunnels. And then they follow all of this. Like I said, it's very, very colorful, and that's what it does look like on the iPad. Here's another thing of what they can do. Sometimes they have little games they play as well. Learning English Kids has a really fantastic website that I have used. I've used this monster one 1,000 times. And the reason why is because students, young learners, love this. They will want to do this again and again and again. So what it does is they have to create a monster. And when they create a monster, they're practicing parts of the body, the mouth, the nose, the legs, the ears, the arms, the eyes. So they have to practice all of this while they choose their monster. Now, they used to have worksheets, but one of the things that I do before this, so a pre-task that I do beforehand, is I actually give students a piece of paper, and they get in pairs, and one of them draws while the other describes the monster. So he says, my monster has 3 eyes, and then the partner draws 3 eyes. So when they come up with their monster and what they drew it as, then they come and they do the online one. Now, the great thing about this is when they choose all of these, and it does sing aloud, then they can go to listen, and their monster will either blow up, he'll sing a really funny monster song, and that is why they absolutely love that site, because the monster sings again and again and again. So it's very, very cool. Learn English also has another type of creative task, which is to choose parts for your animal. So when they choose parts for their animal, they're actually creating an extinct or a very dangerous animal is what it is. That's why it looks a little scary. So you may not want to do this with toddlers or very young children. You may want to do this with a little bit older that aren't going to be too scared or anything. They're not really scary, but it does go through the parts of the body. It does give them little videos of it moving and stuff like that. So it's a really great site. One of the things I do as an after task kind of reflection, so they make their monsters, and then they get to draw them, and then they get to go and they get to actually tell me what their monster does. So they actually write a story about it. And then sometimes we make a planet for the monster where it lives, its habitat, its home, and we use something called Oobleck. So I'm putting the instructions for Oobleck on the bottom. Your students will love this. It's hands-on. It's basically like cornstarch and water. and they mix it with their hands, and it looks like a planet. It just moves and does all this crazy stuff. And so then what I have the students do is they go ahead and they create their monster story. So you can do this with different types of websites. You can try using something like ZooBurst, which is a 3D website. It's a 3D pop-up book. So it's really great to use for students. They can upload their own drawings and stuff so they can tell their monster story. So I'm going to put that in the chat box, and you can check that out. It's a free website. And then you can also do something such as Little Bird Tells. Little Bird Tells is very good type of story creation, digital storytelling um, website out there. And what it does is it records their voice. They can do text. They can have their drawings. So it's really great because it's a motivational way for them to practice all different types of English and stuff. So that's it for the webinar. I hope you enjoyed all of those lesson ideas. I know it's a little fast and furious, but hopefully you learned a lot. And once again, let me give you the website link. And yes, you can get a certificate since you did attend this. And there will be a recording. So let me go ahead and give you that website again, so that way you can have the bookmark. And maybe you have any ideas or questions. Do any of you have any anything you would like to share of something that got your students to be creative and learners creating? Oh, and this is me, and of course Roscoe, my pug. Sometimes we do Photoshop stuff. Oh, you're welcome. Well, thank you for attending. And I'm going to go ahead right now and give you the link to the video so you can see a video of what one of the students created. So the students from India, what they created was different types of inventions. One of them was called Chalk Duster, and it was a great invention. So they made a commercial about it. And what it does is, in India, they still erase the board with the chalk eraser. So what they did was, their invention was it recycled the chalk. So it would take all the chalk from the board and then it would recycle it. So they were very, very, very smart. So let me go ahead and give you the link to that one. Oh, where did they go? And then that way you can, okay, here it is. And I will give you the lesson plan for the project as well. This she did with older students. Now I have done this with younger students, and it worked as well. So you can see the chalk duster video there. They actually had to come up with their own companies as well. So they're very in depth, this project here. There we go. So that's where you'll find the lesson plans and things like that. Well, thank you so much for coming. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and you will see us here next week. We're going to start doing a series, and this series is going to be about different web tools and lesson ideas with those web tools. So we have something called Great Speaking Tools. Next week we have Great Storybook Tools and lesson ideas, and the week after Comic Tools.